Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where good news, it appears that our spaceport expansion contract is still working. So that is absolutely excellent. Now, our timing is much less excellent. We're going to need to warp around and see how this goes. What if we do a burn? Actually, this is not bad. Our timing isn't perfect, ideally. We'd want it to be a little bit more like this. But that is really not bad. Can I be focused here, please? Thank you. That'll make things a lot better. So this is about 266 kilometers here in terms of distance. We can definitely dial that in. Okay, so it's going to end up being about here. What is this approach info? Closest is 2.35 kilometers. I mean, that's close enough. So we can definitely let that happen. That'll be a 19-second burn. Looks good. So hopefully the contract isn't going to break and have to be fixed. That would be ideal. We'll see if that happens. We're, of course, going to be docking this guy up over here, and it's going to be a little bit awkward for sure. But let's just get ourselves into this rendezvous position, and then we're going to be in target mode here. There we go. What's our relative speed going to be? 104 meters per second? Okay, that's really, really not bad. So this is going to be a grand total of 2.27 kilometers in terms of distance. So I really, really don't mind that. Let's go ahead and move this up to about here. And I don't know why the closest approach is not actually showing up, but there we go. So at this point, we can do a little bit of burning out like this direction, right? So this is the target marker. This is the retrograde marker. We're going to want to push those together, and we're going to want to be slowing down our relative speed a little bit while moving in this closest approach info. So that is exactly what we're looking to do. And we're just going to burn here gently for the moment. This is 2 birds, 1 stone with this particular burn. But we're going to be losing efficiency very shortly. So let's warp on forward to about here. And we may be interested in just accepting this distance at this point, or we may not. I'm going to put us about here for now, and we're going to slow this down and do another small correction on our way in. Just pushing these 2 nodes together. Cool. So this is about 500 meters of clearance, which honestly is probably good enough. But I'm going to bring it down to about like 200 meters of clearance, which is maybe a little spooky. Okay, let's move this in over here. I want to be working less on this and more on this at this moment. So that's exactly what we're doing by moving closer to these nodes. We are getting this. We're putting less energy into making our approach closer, and more energy, in theory, into slowing down or rather, reducing our relative speed, is the idea. Okay, this approach info just broke on us. So 181 meters is definitely good enough. Let's go ahead and lock ourselves to retrograde here. 36 meters per second, not too bad. Let's just warp up to this apoapsis. Okay, and we can see the spaceport right there. It's about 1 kilometer away at this time. And we can start a deceleration burn. We're going a little faster than I'd like here, and I'm just going to put us out this direction to do a small amount of correction. Okay, time is going up. So we're just going to keep burning here for now, but we're going to need another coast phase. I'm going to bring us down to roughly, well, here for the moment. And now let's bring ourselves over here. Okay. So what I'm wanting to do right now is bring us down to about 5-ish meters per second of relative speed. So we're at 10 right now. 9. I don't know why there's 2 digits here when it rounds, but whatever. Okay, so that is 5 meters per second of relative speed. So that looks good, and we're just going to coast on in. The question is, where do we want to attach this particular array, the solar array? I don't know. We'll find out. For the moment, we know that our closest approach is 76.1 meters per second, and we can see we're going to be down over here, so it's not going to be perfectly aligned, which is exactly what we like. We might want to attach it, like, to one of these docking ports here, although it's going to be a little awkward. We're going to have to try to manually get that lined up. But let's just continue to coast on in for right now. I want to get in under 100 meters away for sure. Yeah, I'm thinking one of these guys out over here. Okay, let's kill this relative velocity. 4, 3, 2, 1. A little more. There, that'll do. Okay, so here we are. We are, in theory, good to go. So now what I want to do is I want to target this part in particular, and we're going to point at target. So we're going to lock the target here, and we can use monoprop for that. I don't like the velocity the monoprop gave us. Yeah, I don't like that velocity at all. Let's lock our velocity retrograde, and let's monoprop our way over to the retrograde. Just to turn faster. Bizarre. Okay, no more monoprop. And at this point, I'm going to freeze physics. There we go. We're going to, at this juncture, use only our reaction. We don't have a reaction wheel in this, do we? We don't. Okay, so we have to use monoprop. And we're down to 37% monoprop. Okay, this is going to be awkward. Yeah, this is going to be really, really awkward. Okay, we're going to have to use monoprop to try to adjust our heading here. But we don't have a reaction wheel. Yeah. This is going to be really strange. Okay. Without a reaction wheel, this is going to be very, very concerning. So you can see here, we impacted there, and that's not surprising. We're going to have a really hard time bringing this to a halt. We can freeze the rotational physics like that. The problem is any amount of monoprop that we use here is going to result in changing our trajectory. Yeah, that's going to be the issue. So at this point, we're going to need to, like, burn in like this very gently. But also attempt to get our monoprop to stop this drift. That's going to be the complicated thing here, because I forgot to put a reaction wheel in this, right? There's no reaction wheel here. So that means that what we're going to have to do is, instead of locking the current heading, we're going to need to do something kind of like this. Then we're going to need to freeze physics, like that. But we're going to need to have that be in a position where we're facing the correct direction. Okay. So, at this point, I'd like to change our rotational velocity on the correct axis, though. This is going to be really complicated. Okay. Like, incredibly complicated to do this. I'm just trying to think about how we might want to handle this. I have some potential ideas. But any way we slice it, it's going to be really, really awkward. We do have this service module here. And that service module does have on it servicing propulsion systems. So, as a hypothetical, we could go here, turn on monoprop, and we are currently tumbling quite a lot. Lock current heading, please. What is even happening right now? We don't have monoprop, apparently. But we do have monoprop. And this is tumbling for, as far as I can tell, no reason. Do we have roll, pitch, yaw? We do. That is happening. Okay, if we turn this off, it goes to 0. Sure. Let's freeze that. So that is all understood. This is going to be really, really strange. And this is my fault, to be clear. This is entirely my fault because I did not include a reaction wheel in this. So, to that end, this guy is wanting to tumble just by default. If we tell it to lock its heading, then it starts to want to tumble. Okay, let's freeze physics. And you can see it immediately changes orientation while physics is frozen to this. I don't know why. That's a strange thing to do, but it definitely did it. So, I don't really have an explanation for that. Ideally, the location that I would like to dock this would be here. So that's understood. I really wish that this game had a control from part to set your forward vector to be this, the way that you can in KSP. That's a very, very useful feature. Okay, we're tumbling again, and there's no reason why this should be doing this. Let's open these up. I want a pitch. I want a yaw. All of these are at 0. So that's interesting, isn't it? That's very interesting. So why is this doing this? Why is it behaving in this way? Let's freeze the physics. Physics are now frozen. It is continuing to tumble, but there are no inputs. That's going to make an already complicated docking that much more complicated. So if we can't rely on this to stay still, but we also can't rely on being able to steer with it, what can we rely on it for? Because, yeah, this is very strange that it just kind of naturally does this. We're putting in no inputs whatsoever, to be clear. There are no inputs. It's just doing this. So I don't really have an explanation for this. I'm going to make a quick save here. And what do we want to do about this situation? Actually, docking to this would be very interesting. That's the laboratory module there, but this is a command disk. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to set this as our target. I'd really like it if this guy would stop spinning, but there's the radix module and the laboratory module that are both able to control this. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with that. This is the radix module here. It's going down in its electricity consumption. So something is happening here. This gyroscope is not consuming power. This gyroscope is not consuming power. I'm going to turn off the laboratory module. So now there's just the radix module. That's now off as well. Both of these turned off. Okay, let's freeze the physics and see if this continues to tumble like that. Also, is our electricity still being consumed? Actually, yeah, you can see here, this turned itself back on, and it's definitely consuming power now. But there are no inputs. But I think that the gyroscope is actually stabilizing it at this time. Now, this is apparently our forward vector, which is, you know, kind of strange. No doubt about that. So we would need to move this forward vector up to be about here or thereabouts. But I believe that the station is now properly no longer tumbling out of control. So that's good. Okay, so this is our forward vector then. Yeah. So we're going to need to freeze this physics, which is fine. We overshot that a little bit, but that's our forward vector there. Now what I want to do is I want to angle us so that we are about like this, about 40 degrees. And then we're going to have to change our roll. And then this guy is facing the wrong way, but that is theoretically something that we can do something about. Now, I'm not seeing monoprop being active here. Like, there's an activation group here, but it's not a monoprop group. So that's understood. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to change our overall roll the other way, not this way. Okay, so we're going to roll this around like so. And then we're going to try to angle this approximately correctly to dock this here. So I'm breaking our roll right now. Although we might need to roll a little further. I think we do. Okay. This is definitely not intended to be maneuvered in this way, but it's probably fine. I'm going to go with probably fine. Okay. Freezing physics. And that seems quasi-okay. Now, that's definitely at a jaunty angle, but that's okay for now. We're going to leave that be, and what we want to do now is we want to point towards target, ideally. Unfortunately for us, we're going to have to monoprop there. So I'm just doing that. Wait, does this lerp if we freeze physics? I don't know if it does. That's an interesting question, though. It does. So that's a linear interpolation there, and that's a very, very, very convenient thing. So what that means is that we can get ourselves a little bit of momentum out this way. You can see we're moving towards it. And I want to know what our relative speed is. 4? Okay. 4 is a little too much. So we're going to move this to velocity retrograde. Ooh, we're not lerping now. Okay. Monoprop is on. Okay. Well, that was awkward. Okay, let's stop that tumble. That actually kind of worked in a weird sort of way. So, we didn't break anything. That's huge. Now what we need to do is we need to point at this target. I'm going to monoprop us up to kick us towards that target a little bit, like that. Now what we can do is we can continue to do very, very small kicks of monoprop to do that exact sort of thing again. Like this. And just position ourselves here and push ourselves very slightly away from it. Like this, with our rotational momentum. So you can see it's very awkward. But we can just do that. Very minor impacts, and this may put us into a position where we can dock to this using the docking magnetism. Okay, so magnetic force I'm going to put to 120. Now I'm moving us very gently in. There, magnetic force has us grabbed. Okay, monoprop is making this really, really awkward because it's monopropping in the wrong direction. But I think if we let this settle, I think this is going to dock. Now, it's going to be at a jaunty angle, but I'm okay with that. There we go. So now all we need to do is deorbit this stage. I can't believe that worked. That is insane. It's definitely at a jaunty angle. And you can see this is immediately starting to spin again. It likes to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and get ourselves a bit out of here. Oh, this is a really awkward direction to be going. Okay, we're clear. Let's just leave that be. Now we just need to deorbit this. And there we go. So that is now completed. We definitely want to make some changes here. So change number one that we want to do is we want to come in here. We're going to need to bring a larger section. But change number one, we want to have a gyro. Change number two, I want to have some amount of power generation on here. So we're just going to do something kind of like that. And that'll be absolutely fine. We're going to duplicate that onto the other side, and that'll be good. Change number three, we're going to have to change our payload. And this might necessitate a new booster design, but we know for a fact that we're going to want to bring up either the habitation module or the Hydrolox fuel sphere. The habitation module is the smaller of the three, or the medium-sized-ish one, I guess we could say. The most medium-sized one. Something along those lines. I'm going to get rid of this fairing, and we're probably going to want a brand new fairing. So we would want to put that in somewhere around here, and we're going to have to change the size of that quite significantly. So the main issue here is that we're going to have a little bit sticking out there, which is, you know, not ideal. We're probably going to want to put like a strut here to give ourselves a little bit of distance, although it maybe doesn't need to be quite this long. Maybe something like that. Yeah, that should do. Then the question is, does this have anywhere near the amount of DV to lift this amount of mass? Right? This is very, very, very much heavier than what we just lifted. So that is understood. Let's put this on the launch pad and give it a quick test lift. We're going to have to make some changes to this, almost certainly. At the very least, we're probably going to... This contract is assigned to other craft. We want this one. And it instantly failed. Okay. The contract may be slightly broken. We have the habitation module. Well, at any rate, we're not actually going to try to go for this, so I want to see if we even get off the ground. 1.28, so we're almost certainly going to want to have at least twice as many SRBs. That's absolutely understood. This thrust to weight is a lot lower. So we can put this over at about 70. Monoprop off for the moment. How's that over expansion damage? That's not too bad. Now, this thing is quite top heavy. You can see here it's attempting to tip over. And it's succeeding in tipping over. We're struggling to bring it back up. Yeah, so that clearly is a problem. There's too much mass up here, and we're going to need to make some adjustments there. That's okay. We're going to pull this back, and we are going to restart the game, and hopefully that gets that contract working again. That'd be really nice. And this is new. Okay, I'm going to call this the Station Expander. Okay, there we go. That'll be fine. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy McGar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Hiro Marutsu, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.